Okay to just resurrect my fighter for our own adventurers without penalties because Gina's Dungeon wasn't canonical in our world. June 1984. Simon and I got 2 other kids to join our group, Robert and his friend David. The 4 of us were officially declared the nerds by the cool kids at school. We played almost every weekend. I started carrying my dice, a couple of pencils, and a folded up character sheet with me everywhere I went, stored in the pleather Casio calculator case that my father gave me. The Satanic Panic, fueled by Jack Chick's dark dungeons and some hard-hitting investigative reporting during Sweeps Week on the local television news, reached our suburban school. I brought a letter home from my school warning our parents about the dangers of Dungeons and Dragons, signed by the principal, very seriously co-signed by the pastor. My parents laughed it off. Roberts did not. He was prohibited from playing Dungeons and Dragons anymore, and since he had brought David into our little group, David left too. Then, right when school was about to get out for summer, the total party killed. Simon's mom was moving them to Indiana. July 1984. With Simon gone and the Satanic Panic at its peak, I didn't have anyone to play with. My books and character sheets slowly made their way into my closet as Atari began to creep further and further into my life. Somebody had to help the Yar take their revenge. It may as well be me. Then, for my birthday, which is July 29th, in case anyone is wondering and wants to make plans, Aunt Val gave me a book called Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf was like Choose Your Adventure, but you had a character sheet, and you rolled dice for combat, and your character persisted from one book to the next. It wasn't D&D, but it was close enough. 1987, fall. I was a freshman in high school and gained admittance to a group of geeks via my friend Darren. We played tons of geeky tabletop games together, watched Holy Grail at least once a month, and argued the finer points of sci-fi, like you do. I was finally surrounded by geeks again, only this time I was proud to be among their number. One day sitting in Darren's house and playing Illuminati, I said, "Hey, did any of you guys ever play D&D? There was a collective snort of derision. "What?" I said. "We play GURPS," one of them said. "What's GURPS?" A knowing look passed among them. Within a few weeks, I started my first Space Old West Magic Humanx campaign. Little reference for the 12 of you who have survived GURPS. June 1992, the Dark Ages. I met and began dating a girl who didn't appreciate gaming at all and thought it was entirely for nerds. But she let me touch her boobs. So I put my games in the closet. As it turns out, yes. March 1993, rebirth. We broke up. The games came back out of the closet. My Space Marines still hold a grudge. 1999. After living together for 3 years, my girlfriend and I moved out of sin and into marriage. I began counting the days until I could introduce her children, who I was raising as if they were my own, to the wonderful world of tabletop gaming. After we'd spent about 6 years in each other's life, I began gradually to introduce the kids to some of the geekier things I like. By the time Lord of the Rings came out, they were ready to take their first steps down a path that began in a tavern and ended in a dragon's lair. February 2004. The boys and I spent a week or so creating characters and discussing rules, building excitement for our adventure. I stayed up way too late each night after the kids went to bed, poring over websites and my rule books, simulating combats and creating NPCs. It was the first time I'd run an adventure since the sinister secret of Salt March since 6th grade, when I scored a total party kill during the first encounter. My friends deposed me and I was never allowed to sit behind the screen again after that. I sat at the dining room table and reviewed cleric spells while the Two Towers soundtrack fueled my imagination. My son Ryan, who was 14 at the time, came out of his room and sat down across from me. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Oh, I'm just refreshing my memory. It's been, a very long time since I ran a campaign, and look, I paused and thought to myself, I want you to think I'm cool, and I want to do something special for you. I want to share something with you that isn't connected to sports, so your biological dad can't take it over and force me out of it. I want to make sure that you guys have a good time," I said. "It's really important to me." "I am so excited," he said. "Me too." He absentmindedly rolled some D20s I'd scattered across the table. "Can I roll up an extra character just for fun?" "Is your homework finished?" "Yeah, everything's done, and I worked ahead in biology." "Really?" He nodded. "Dude, that is super responsible. I'm proud of you." He smiled. "So can I?" "Sure," I said. "The dice bags are on my desk." He walked over to my office. My desk, normally buried under computer books and writing journals, was covered with gaming books. All the GURPS books, Mutant Masterminds, Car Wars, tons of cheap-ass games, and of course a stack of D&D books that reached to the ceiling. "It's 46, right?" he called out. "Yep, it's 46, and you throw away the lowest roll," we said it in unison. "Ryan, I love it when that happens. I have an extra character sheet here that you can use." "Okay." I went back to my books. A moment later, 4 six-sided dice dropped from Ryan's hand and rolled across the table. "Okay, you're the DM," he said, "so you have to watch my rolls." "All right," I said. "This is something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life." "This is really fun," I said. He picked up the dice and he threw them. 2, 4, 5, 1. 11? "Oh, man," he said. 11 isn't a bad roll," I said. "It can inspire role-playing." I noticed something familiar about the dice. 2 of them were black. They had red numbers. There was a skull where the 1 should be. "Hey, I have dice just like those in..." My heart stopped. I ran to my office. There it was, in the cool blue glow of my monitor, sitting on top of a D&D book, an open bag of not just dice, my dice. My bag of my dice. The black bag that my dice live in, with the red pyramid from the Bavarian Illuminati on it. A clear D10 and 2 brilliant blue D12s sat near its open top. Its drawstring was cast carelessly across the side of the book, dangerously close to getting wet, my little Zen fountain. Ryan slowly walked into the room. "Is something wrong?" he said. You touched my dice. Well, yeah. Ryan, you don't understand. You are about to see your stepdad as the gamer geek he really is. The gamer geek he hopes you will become one day. You know, this is actually kind of cool. "Okay, so you can't touch my dice," I said. Aren't they all," he held up his fingers and made quote marks, "your dice?" "Technically, yes. But these here, In this bag, these ones here are the ones I've played with since I was in high school. He furrowed his brow and looked at me while I put my dice back into my bag. A white D8 with worn-off blue numbers, a clear D10 with white numbers, a green D6 that's really a poker die. Does anyone have an actual matched set of dice that they've had since they were in high school? Because if I ever meet that person, I will not trust him or her. Ryan, when I was younger, these dice were some of the most important things in my life. It's funny how things change. These dice were a really big part of my life, I said. I held the bag in my hand and I looked at him. For the first time in the 8 years we had been in each other's lives, I saw some of myself reflected back. You know what? It's not that big a deal, I said. I'd just rather you used some other dice, I said. Like these. So, can I re-roll that 11 since I used the forbidden dice? We laughed. 11's a good roll, Ryan. I know, but 12 gives me +1. Okay, all right. Min-maxer, re-roll. But if you get a lower roll, you have to keep it. I tossed in my green bag of dice that anybody can touch. He dug out 4 of them. We walked back into the dining room and sat back down at the table. Ryan threw 2, 5, 2, 1. Ha! 9! Aw, man! I bet that 11's looking pretty good now, isn't it? Shut up! He laughed. He collected the dice, held them thoughtfully for a second, and said, I'm sorry I used your dice. I just thought that the bag was so cool. It's okay, Ryan. Someday I'm gonna give you that bag of dice and all the dice in it, and my dice will be your dice. That actually happened when he graduated from college. I gave him my dice. There are 2 times in my life that Ryan has made me cry. I mean, really cry. When he was 19, he was home visiting from college, and he said to me, I've been thinking, I really am the person I am because you raised me, and you've basically been a dad to me my entire life, so I was wondering if you would want to maybe adopt me. That's the first time Ryan made me cry. I said yes, by the way. Second time Ryan made me cry was when I saw him graduate from college, which he just did back in December. And I stood in a Mexican restaurant in Tucson, Arizona, and gave him my dice, and I cried a 3rd time. Someday, I said, you'll have your own dice and your own dice bag, and you will understand. He rolled again. 6, 6, 4, 4. 16! Oh! On an index card, I wrote a 1 and a 6 beneath his 9. Ryan, I love you more than you will ever know. And I'm really grateful that we share these moments together. I can't wait to play with you guys tomorrow night. June 2007. As much as I want to, I can't really hate dodgeball or those cool kids who tormented me throughout the years, because without them, I would not have discovered gaming. And no single thing contributes as much to my geekiness or brings me as much joy. I still flinch when I hear the hollow pang of a dodgeball, though. That is a saving throw I will always fail.